Check, check, check. It's working. Oh, that's awesome. I was literally about to go in and make sure that it was working before I even started. But then I thought, what if I do something wrong and it's fine already? So how lucky is that? Oh my goodness. It's been a minute, you guys. I apologize. I haven't made my last live since Friday. That can't be right. Did I do on Saturday? I probably did, right? Should I look at my notes or should I just look at my cell phone? Because, yeah, that's crazy. My internet went completely out. They had to come and rebuild it yesterday. I don't know what's up with that. So today's Wednesday. It's the 15th of October. And I think it was Monday. And I was watching a Hal Sparks live. And he was glitching, like really bad. And my whole system was glitching, my whole internet. And I thought, no, it's not the shadow banning. It can't be. I don't believe in shadow banning. It doesn't exist, right? So I just want to go to my channel and see when the date was of my last live. Because I had set this one up to do on Monday. I think it was Friday. Let's see. 4 days ago, it says the Bad Bunny one. But when it says 4 days ago, it usually means 5 days ago. You know, YouTube likes to pretend things are newer than they actually are. What was the date on it? You have to look at the date. And it's not going to tell me the date. Come on. October 10th. And yeah, today's the 15th. So isn't that stupid? It says 4 days ago, but it was really 5. It took me a long time to figure that out, how YouTube fibs, they stretch the truth. And man, I've got something like a hair on my lip. That's ridiculous. Okay, I'm going to give people a minute to get into the live and gulp some Java out of my super cool Led Zeppelin. Or no, not Led Zeppelin. Pink Floyd. See, I'm so cool. I don't even know the difference. I was thinking of my Led Zeppelin hat that I like so much, but this is an old one that I haven't worn in a long time. I put the elephant on it and the sun. I think it says sunshine, but then I added the other stuff because you know me. I always got to mess with stuff. Can't leave well enough alone. So I've got the upside down puppy dog who's like molded to the body pillow. I've got Flopsy Mopsy over here. And where's Coco? Coco's right here. There we go. You know what I need is, I don't know, a bigger desk. I need more dog beds. If I had a dog bed for each of them, and then we could do our little puppy cam, true crime, political crap. Okay, so let's get rolling. I got my sign back in view because it was like hiding straight behind me. And sorry, I got my tank top on under my little jacket thing. It says subscribe, notify, share, like, you know the drill. So please hit your like button if you don't mind. And I will get started. So I used a crazy photograph that I found of, let me do my thing. Everything I say is simply my opinion for the sake of hoping to start a conversation, open up a discussion, learn something, be educational. All my videos are made for YouTube. It's an infotainment platform. And yes, the cases that I've been covering lately, the politics are the true crime are the politics. It's been that way since election day for me personally on my channel. So sorry, not sorry. It's just the way it is. And I hope that it's enlightening, uplifting, informative, and sometimes lighthearted because it's so effing tragic. So I don't know how caught up you guys are, because I don't know who's watching in the replay, and I don't know who's here now. If you want to say hi, please do so. But if you don't, that's okay. Or if you can't, that's fine too. But I've been talking a lot about the Charlie Kirk case. Okay, so Erica Kurt is in the thumbnail when she was really young, and she's holding a pew pew, and she's standing with a couple of military guys, and she's wearing her like Miss Arizona ribbon thing, her pageantry. I don't know what you call those dumb things. Anyway, you got to think of that movie Miss Congeniality with Sandra Bullock, right? Because that was a really good movie. But yeah, Erica's not the wholesome goody two shoes that the MAGA likes to try to sell her as. And the whole MAGA thing seems to be falling apart at the seams, but everything's an illusion anyway. So who the F knows? Up is down, down is up. The sky is purple. What is real anyway? It's all just smoke and mirrors and snake eyes, right? So the whole Charlie Kirk thing has been maddening. I've seen, for a while, I really tried to stay away from a lot of the videos about it because it was so much conspiracy out the wazoo. But I told you guys, the minute that I saw that he was hit with ammunition, which was on the day that happened, right after it happened, a few minutes before they declared that he had passed away. And then I was on live with you guys, and one of my viewers mentioned it in the chat, which I was so glad, because I had wanted to bring it up, but I, of course, forgot because I didn't have it written down. And then I told you guys what I thought was that it was staged and that it was just another distraction from the Trumpstein files. And then it was a few minutes later that I'm looking it up live and you guys are looking it up, and we find out that they're announcing that he did not survive. And of course, that's awful. And now there's just like so many stupid conspiracy theories. And honestly, I think the whole thing's a conspiracy. And I kind of have thought that from the start. I think that it is staged, again, to reiterate what I just said, to distract from the Trumpstein files. And I think that the man was seen as a troublemaker by Bibi and Bibi's little lapdog protege, El Presidente of the United States of America. So I think that they ordered it and it happened, and there were a lot of people involved. And this is what I think. I did not come up with this. I saw this on a channel a couple of days ago because I was trying to avoid all the crazy conspiracy theory crap. And then I got caught up in some of it. And I was glad that I did, because this is what I think. I'm like sure of it. This is what it is. This is what it is. It was staged, and that it was intentionally staged so that there could be like half a dozen or a dozen different crazy rabbit hole conspiracy theories. The man in the bush with the bush on his head, and then the guy who's ran for governor of Utah, who was one of the last people to speak with Charlie before he was fatally wounded. And he met with Charlie that morning at 6 a.m. And his family owns a block of property right there by where it happened. And a family member of his just happens to own the surveillance camera and the surveillance footage of the alleged shooter walking down the street in front of their house. And I forget that guy's name. I have to look it up. But he ran for governor and he didn't win. And he likes to really harp on the governor of Utah. So his story is shaky AF. And he says he met with Charlie Kirk that morning at 6 a.m. He says that he was one of the last people to speak with him before he started his thing. And then he had like 3 different descriptions all on that day, that same day, in different interviews of where he was exactly when the shots were fired. So his first story was that he was with Charlie by the stage, and then he went like 200 feet away, and that he just happened to be like right by where the shots were fired from, or shot was fired from. It was one shot. And then the next story was something else. He wasn't up there, he was somewhere else. And then the next story was somewhere else. One of those stories, he'd come back to the scene of the crime at 11:30 that night and was making like a Instagram selfie video with like the second or third iteration of where he says he was. And yeah, you can't keep changing your story. But the fact that he met with Charlie at 6 a.m. that day, the fact that he was one of the last people to speak with Charlie right before it happened, the fact that his family owns most of a block that's right by there, a residential block, and the fact that he ran for governor. Interesting to say the least. He's 60 years old and he really likes college kids. That's a little uncomfortable, especially in light of the Trumpstein files, right? So one of these channels that I watched, and I'll try to link them up in the description because honestly, it's hard to keep track of what's what, but it wasn't my idea, that the powers that be intentionally set up several different scenarios for people to drop down those rabbit holes, like the guys with their sign language and the guy with the like cell phone in his shirt and all the sunglasses and baseball cap, baseball signs. And then the people taking the camera down, rearranging the crime scene, destroying the crime scene, tampering with evidence. Like, shouldn't they all get in trouble for that? Like, it's all on film. Not to mention that they all picked up a deceased person and threw him in the back of a freaking black Soprano vehicle, like a black SUV, like what was that? Suburban was the thing that Tony Soprano drove, and those kind of became like the new mobster kind of what to replace the Cadillacs or something. I'm sorry to laugh. Nobody rendered aid. Nobody drew their weapon and tried to defend themselves or protect the crowd against a live shooter. That's the biggest giveaway. And it's some of the channels like 1111 True Crime and Mr. Let It Go that spoke about those things first, to my knowledge. And that is the most brilliant one. The biggest giveaway, in my opinion, is that none of the law enforcement or the security drew their weapons and tried to protect from any more shots fired. I mean, that's just effing nuts. And then the whole thing with like the theory of the hatch under the stage, then the whole thing with the bricklaying right where it happened, I think like the very next day, and then pouring cement over that. I mean, it just goes on and on and on. And then all of these content creators speaking about it, people like on the inside track, like Candace Owens, and I don't trust these people at all. I mean, just like I don't trust Marjorie Taylor Greene or Ted Cruz, even though some of what they're saying is right on the money. I think the same thing about a lot of these content creators. They might be saying things that are right on the money, but what are their motives, and are they authentic? even if they are authentic, are they correct? It's all like one of those 5,000 piece puzzles that you just gotta start by, getting the corners and the edges and then trying to fill it in. And me personally, I love a puzzle, so I'm totally distracted by it from the Trumpstein files, but I think it all ties right in. And this is my own crazy conspiracy theory that, I've probably blended some others together and put my own ideas in there too. I believe that Charlie Kirk's wife, and this is from one of my viewers, Billy, let me give her a huge shout out because she is sharp cookie. A lot of my viewers are sharp cookies, and I really appreciate the input in the live chat or in the comment section, or send me an email. You guys are awesome. Billy came up with the thing about, at least for me, she came up with it. Maybe she picked it up somewhere else. I don't know. Maybe it was her own idea that Erica was Charlie's handler. And I think she's correct. So I watched the creepiest video in the world over the weekend. And this is what I was really excited to come on live with you guys the day before yesterday with the same title and the same thumbnail. And then I couldn't do it because my whole freaking internet crashed. They came out yesterday and spent all the long day rebuilding it. So we have the internet. I don't know if that's just technical difficulty or if there's more to it. It's kind of pointless to even speculate, although it is good to know, right? However, I was going to show you some photographs that, let me give a shout out to a channel called Joseph Aquaviva 2222. Are you familiar? He has just over 400 videos and just over 11,000 subscribers. So he broke down a lot. And a lot about the Charlie Kirk, Erica Kirk stuff. So do you guys remember seeing Erica Kirk? I mean, some of these photos I'll show you guys because, I'm so bad with the technology. So I'll try to show you on my phone. But let me start with the one where she's wearing kind of, it looks like a strawberry chiffon dress. Do you see that? It's got lots of pink ruffles up top and very like conservative and I don't know, kind of like a baby doll up top, but then it's a mini skirt. So it's like way high on the thigh. And when I first saw pictures of her in this dress, I thought, man, what a hideous dress, right? Absolutely hideous. Do you see it? And then I thought, oh, look at what my phone is doing. My phone is bugging out on it too. It's like, and then I thought, it's kind of cute, especially because it's got some roses printed on it. And I'm a sucker for roses. Well, I'm a sucker for those colors. It's like pink and some light green in there. I love pink and green together. And then it was on that channel that I just said, the Aqua, what is it called? Joseph Aquaviva 2222. And I had heard Erica talking about how the first time that she saw Charlie Kirk was when she was in Israel with her mother, and she was in the airport and she saw a man that she thought she recognized in the snake of the line. And it bugged the F out of me. I was like, just stick a knife right through my forehead. Like, dear God, who talks like that? In the snake of the line is where she first saw her husband, future husband. You know, the snake of the line. Like, that's not a thing. Anyway, I thought it was just me. I was like, oh man, that's bugging me. But luckily then I heard this guy talking about it too. I've heard at least one other guy talking about it. But when she said that, can you see her eyes? Okay, they're still looking kind of normal. This is from that content creator that I just mentioned, the Joseph Aquaviva 2222. So she's talking about seeing this man for the first time in the snake of the line at the airport in Israel. And so these are just screenshots that I took from his video of her telling that same story. And her eyes are looking a little odd right there. Actually, they're looking very odd if you can see them. But here, they'll look odder in a second as she's telling the story. It just kept getting weirder and weirder. So, I don't know. She's getting like Cash Patel eyes. Sorry, not sorry. And then it just keeps going. Let's see. There's a couple more. Can you see that? Yeah, you can see that. This is her in the pink chiffon dress telling the story of the first time she ever saw Charlie Kirk in the snake of the line at the airport in Israel. Okay. That is the weirdest one so far. Oh, except for maybe the next one. Are you ready? Like, I mean, I'm sorry if this is like stupid or scary, but yeah, I think it's kind of both, but I think it's more scary than stupid. Like, what the F is this? This is her in her little pink chiffon dress talking about seeing this man in the snake of the line. And I think that this story, when she's telling it, is well before he was taken out. But this is the expressions on her face and with her eyes. And really, what I really want to say before I forget is that the whole nature of her chiffon dress and the background that almost blends the chiffon dress and the background at some points in time. Like, man, you see her Cash Patel eyes bugging out. What do you call that? The Charles Manson eyes? But now it's the Cash Patel eyes because they're even worse than Charles Manson eyes. She looks like Dorian Gray. Are you familiar with that story? The Dorian Gray is the painting. It's a portrait painting. And the person in the portrait painting is like aging backwards. It's been forever since I've read it, so I can't really recite what the story is about. But let me just show you some pictures of our all-American girl who was born in Ohio, USA. I've tried to find where in Ohio, because I live in Ohio. And I'm always curious where people are from. I'm like, oh, was she like, I figured like Cleveland area, but, allegedly she was born in Ohio and then she moved to Arizona when her mom got a job with the Department of Defense and Homeland Security, even though it didn't exist back then. So do you see how wholesome she looks in this here photograph? Yeah, I'm being sarcastic. She doesn't look wholesome at all. She looks hot, but she also looks like a Barbie doll. But let's continue with I don't know. Speaking of hot Barbie doll, That's her in the swim competitions for the Miss USA, which she didn't place, but no shade for not placing, right? Okay, here's a picture where she actually does look sweet, in my opinion, but I don't think she is. But this picture is one of a handful where she's not as glammed out. I mean, she's still completely glammed out. I don't think there's any photos of her where she's not glammed out, even if she's allegedly working out. But she's got less of the glam factor, and she resembles Gabby Petito. And I thought that was interesting, to say the least. To say the least. Oh, this one, she really looks like Gabby Petito. Are you ready? And Gabby Petito, she didn't go missing from Utah, but she was in Utah right before she went missing. She went missing from Wyoming. But, in my last video, I was talking about, man, that is just striking to me. I got to put some pictures side by side. That is just striking to me how much she resembles Gabby Petito. Wow, that's a really bad picture of her. I won't even show it. I'll just go with the good pictures. And there's the one from the thumbnail of her doing some cosplaying with her military dudes. But the thing that struck me about this photo the most, her holding a weapon in a very unsafe way, where it's like she could accidentally shoot that guy in the head. So she's all hot in her mini dress, and she's got these young military guys on either side flanking her. Reminded me an awful lot of a picture of Kristi Noem doing the exact same thing. So here's her in the pink chiffon dress, and just the way that dress kind of blends in with the wallpaper or the paint, whatever it is in the background, the backdrop. And she's kind of just all face and legs. And she's telling the story of how she met her husband in the snake of the line in Israel. Actually, not that they met, but I don't want to misspeak, that's when she first saw him. And then they met later, they started dating, and then they talked about it. And we're like, oh yeah, we were both there and I saw you. So there were a couple of small plane crashes a couple of days ago. Kind of bothered me that there were a couple on the same day. I mean, sad for the people who passed away. One of the airplanes was probably being flown by, the pilot was probably the husband of the wife. The two of them were the only two people in it that they crashed in New Hampshire. They were from Rhode Island, and they were in their 60s. They had a very successful business in high-end real estate development. So I thought, always seems like the people in these plane crashes and helicopter crashes have extremely successful businesses in really key industries that might compete with some people that we might know. Oh, this is hilarious. Okay, we need a little bit of laughter, all this snake talking. What channel was it? I think it was the channel that I just discovered yesterday called Have I Got News for You? OMG. I've already linked it up in the description. So freaking funny. These comedians are pure genius, and they're definitely being shadow banned because you can barely look them up. Have I Got News for You US, because there's also the Have I Got News for You, that's the original one that's over there in the UK, the BBC. But those comedians were comparing, you'll love this, comparing when our dear leader was out there with his poster boards doing his show and tell with the tariffs, with all the random numbers, and trying to make it look all legit because he had a prop. You know, he's got so many effing props, it's ridiculous. Like, he is a prop. But I don't know if you can see who is on the other side of the screen. Yeah, it is Wayne's World. It's Garth, Wayne and Garth. And they've got like the Babometer or something, you know, where they're like, swing, Claudia Schiffer, swing. So it just cracked me up, because they're like, why was it when he was doing that thing with the tariffs that I was thinking he reminded me of that Wayne's World scene? Oh my goodness. Laugh or cry. I'd rather laugh, but I'm not even kidding. A lot of the time I feel like crying. This stuff is crazy. Like, what has our effing country become? Pete Keg's Breath, Caroline with the KKK, Christy Nome, Smolania, Tulsi Gabbard. These people, every single one of them that I just mentioned, I believe is a double agent. I mean, Tulsi Gabbard is an easy one. I mean, Heg's Breath is also an easy one. Smolania, yeah, ace in the hole. Caroline with the KKK, not so obvious, but still obvious. And then Christy Nome, too. Not so obvious, but stunningly obvious. Oh, and how could I forget Pamela Bondi? OMG. So she actually worked for Qatar. You know that, right? She was like the attorney general for Florida, I want to say from 2011 until 2019. I don't know what she did before that. I don't know if she was like because at some point in time she was Trumpster, you know, Tenacious D's private attorney. But I think it was 2011 to 2019 that she was the AG for Florida. And then obviously she's been in the position that she's in now for just the year of 2025. So the 6 years in between, the 5 or 6 years in between, I think that's when she was working for Qatar at a measly 6-figure per month salary. Very sad that now she's only making $185,000 a year roughly with the government job, because that's all those jobs pay. You know, her and Tom Holman and Bissett and all the rest of them, they're all freaking billionaires. And then they're taking these jobs that pay $175,000 or $185,000 a year. Why even take the salary when you're that well to do, right? Like Donnie's always like, oh, I don't need that stupid $400,000 a year stipend that they give El Presidente. I'm loaded. I got free Qatari jets and shit. OMG. Oh, but then he's like bombarding his MAGA base constantly with send me money. I'm in trouble. My car broke down. I'm out of gas. Send me money. Help. I'm dying. And yeah, he does honestly seem like he is on his last legs. If you saw any of the footage of him speaking publicly yesterday, he could barely breathe. He could barely talk. If he wasn't so downright vile and just putrid, I would actually feel sorry for him. But no, he's completely insane. So I'm sure you've heard about the text threads that have been leaked, the extremely, not just racist, but how shall we say, vulgar, worse than Adolf, if that's even possible. I don't know that that's possible. If it is, that's how this text thread is, of these young Republicans. So Politico broke the story yesterday, and a lot of channels have covered it, and it is awful, 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 awful to listen to look at, to hear the things that they're saying in the text thread. I don't even want to repeat any of it, honestly. But I'm going to put a link in the description to Harry, I think it's Sasson. Is that how you say his name? Harry Sasson's video. He's a content creator that I really like, that I don't think I've given enough shout outs to, if any, in the past. He's kind of newer to me. And he not only shows the text thread, he shows the pictures of the people who said the things in the text thread. And I agree with him that he is right to do that, that these people's faces, they need to be seen, they need to be outed. Harry Sisson, Sisson. And he really kicks butt. He's got over 300,000 subscribers. He's not doing too poorly. But this video called MAGA Exposed and Text Leak, I Got Their Secret Photos. I am linking it right now as I speak. Copy link. I'm going to link it up in the description so that you can look at it whenever you feel like it. If you feel like it now or later, it will be there for you, and I won't have to remember to do it later, because sometimes I get to it right away and other times I'm busy or I forget. And so that's why I've been doing this lately, where I just link it up as I'm talking. So let's see if this will work. I'm kind of proud of myself for figuring out how to do this when I'm live too, because, you know, with my lack of expertise with the technology. I did it. Oh, I just deleted the whole thing. No, I'm just kidding. I got it. So Harry Sisson's video is in there too now, along with Have I Got News for You and Hysteria. So Hysteria was one I wanted to do a little bit of a breakdown. Like, I could almost watch through their whole video with you, actually. Maybe I shall, because it's so good. Or maybe just parts of it. Because honestly, I was kind of turned off by the name of the channel, Hysteria, you know, those hysterical women's, those wandering uteruses. That's what hysterical means, wandering uterus, literally. These biatches are smart. They are funny, and they do good work. And I have known about them for a while, but I don't watch them as much as I would like to. And here is, oh wow, let's see. That's not. They start, see, I love these chicks. They open with Keg's Breath doing his axe throw in the middle of Midtown Manhattan on Fox News on a weekend show. He might have been drinking already. He might not. But what happens, I'm sure you've seen it or heard about it, is he completely misses the target with the axe throwing, and he's outside in the middle of Midtown Manhattan. And yeah, there's people around, and yeah, the axe goes over the wall that the target is on, and it hits a person. It freaking hits a drummer, a marching band drummer, in the arm of all places. It wasn't until I watched this here video of Hysteria's that I think it's called it's a series called This Damn Guy or This Effing Guy. And it's Pete Kegsbreath, I say his name wrong. Everything you didn't know about his crappy past. So it starts with that axe throwing. So the man who he hit, the marching band drummer, I did not know his name. I did not know his age. I did not know where he was from. I did not know about the lawsuit that he filed against Kegsbreath and Fox News. I think this all happened in 2015. And then it took 4 years for the lawsuit to settle. But in 2017, Kegsbreath got a promotion from Fox. And despite the fact that he did this hideous thing, and it wasn't the only hideous thing that he did a lot of hideous things. And then, let me see what the guy's name is. I think I wrote it down. Yes. Well, he was a West Point band member. He's never mentioned. It was a Flag Day celebration of 2015, the Battle of the Lumberjacks on Fox. The errant axe was what they called the incident. The drummer's name from West Point, 38 years old, career drummer at West Point, is Jeffrey Prosperi. And he was a sergeant at the time of the injury. So he was severely injured. I don't know if he was unable to drum or if it just took the wind out of his sails and he wasn't able to drum for a while and had a lot of pain. I'm not sure. But he was a career drummer and the damn thing hit him in the arm. Not to mention the emotional trauma, especially since that video of him getting hurt has been shown thousands of times all over the country. I'm sure all over the world, people crack up, self-included. And I never thought about the guy and how it affected him, how it injured him, because like he looks like he's hurt, like he's like, but I mean, it didn't seem to like kill him or chop his arm off or anything. I mean, it was lucky AF. It mostly landed on his drum, but it hit him in the right arm. I think he's probably right-handed. Whatever, even if it didn't hit him at all, like that's not a thing that you should be doing in Midtown Manhattan, throwing freaking axes and then showing it on TV. And then getting not only promoted by Fox News, despite the fact that you're having a love child with your boss, but then getting promoted or hired, appointed into the government, into the highest position of war criminals, the Secretary of War. I would think for this guy, Jeffrey Prosperi, that it just is like putting salt in an open wound every time that video is shown. I honestly think he should get pain and suffering compensation for that video being public and him kind of being the butt of the joke, because it's got to hurt. It's got to make it worse. The fact that this idiotic joker got promoted mid-lawsuit and then got appointed by his dear friend, Donny Osmond. I mean, the other Donny. Anyway, So yeah, the phrase I was looking for earlier when I was talking about the Charlie Kirk conspiracies is the multiple decoys. That's what I think was part of the conspiring, was planting multiple decoys in the audience. And this whole thing, it's called street theater. This thing that they do with all of these explosions and crashes and people getting injured or deceased, or these ice raids in the middle of the night with helicopters, um, you know, coming down on their freaking air ladders and tearing children out of their beds in the middle of the night. That's all effing street theater. That's all for shits and giggles, basically. They love this crap. We already knew that. But to see these texts that these young Republicans, these threads that these leaders of the young Republican groups just casually talk about how much they want to see people burn, put them in gas chambers. Like, they're not kidding. And even if they were kidding, which I'm sure is what they'd say, oh yeah, we were just joking around. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. It's like a whole bunch of Stephen Millers. And that man is one sick puppy. Another super sick puppy. Both of those two, Stephen Miller and Keg's Breath and Mike Johnson, the three of them were so hard to get sworn in because even the Republicans didn't like them. There was so much opposition. Like when Matt Gaetz, Matt Gaetz would have gotten sworn in eventually if he didn't have the common sense and decency to resign or pull his name out of the hat, basically, to rescind his nomination, basically, I guess is how you'd say it. Matt Gaetz. And then he was replaced with the lovely Pamela Bondi. Oh, that face, those lips, they move like a machine gun. Oh, wait, no, that's Caroline Leavitt. I got my blondes confused. Like, these people are so effing unqualified, whether they're the bimbos or the mimbos. They don't have the skill set to be in these jobs, but I guess they meet all the qualifications required, which is sycophant and look good on camera, right? Loyalty and makeup, hair. It's all that matters. Okay, I'm going to show you this hysteria video, or part of it anyway. Let me look at my notes again too. And the obsession with the wokeism, man. I am so sick of this Tenacious D and his fixation on wokeism. It's like that term woke, I thought was like a thing like 10 or 15 years ago. And he just won't give it up, man. He's talking about it every day. Before I forget to mention, the $50,000 that was allegedly given to Tom Holman in a Kava takeout brown paper bag, that was only a down payment. That wasn't the bribe. That was the down payment on the bribe, allegedly. And I don't hear that information coming from very many sources. But to me, it makes sense because $50,000 is not a lot of money for what was allegedly going on. So apparently the $50,000 cash in the brown paper bag was maybe, would that be like 10% or 1% of $500,000? See, $500,000, it's like 1%, right? Because you got 50 million. Wait, no, 50,000. That's 10%. Okay. I can't do math. 1,000, million, billion, trillion, gazillion. It's all, out of my level of expertise. I just go by the ones and the twos and the tens and the 20s and the hundreds, and I drop off right there about the four figures. My goodness. So there is a lot going on with the Trumpstein files, and any minute now this crap could blow up. Yesterday, Mike Johnson, I believe, was served the lawsuit for preventing the Arizona representative from getting sworn in, because it's been 2 weeks, and that's ridiculous. But, it's my belief that they'll just cancel the government altogether to try to avoid the Trumpstein files coming out. I'm not even kidding. But let me go to this hysteria thing, this keg's breath hysteria thing. Let's see if I can play a little bit of it for you. I'll start at the very beginning with that axe throwing, in case you haven't seen it. Can you kind of see it? Oh, and then I guess I need volume.
Who's going to win this battle with the lumberjack? That's the progress. I'm putting my money on.
That's not even close. It's not even close. I want to know how drunk. I'm serious. Like, how drunk was he when he did that? Welcome to another edition of This Fucking Guy, the show that picks on one guy who's making America worse and explains why they suck. I'm Erin Ryan, the host of Crooked Media's Hysteria podcast. And I'm Alyssa Mastromonaco, the other host of Crooked Media's Hysteria podcast. Today's guy was almost the guy several months back, but we ultimately went with another guy because we were positive that this guy would be out of a government job within weeks. But Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth is still here. And so today...
Also, so I'll have to keep breaking it up and interjecting for, copyright privileges, fair use, that stuff. But also, he just leaked another signal thing, another brand new signal gate over the last couple of days.
Tracing the path of a himbo who has done nothing but fail up. Failed college athlete, two-time failed husband, failed leader of multiple veterans advocacy organizations, failed Senate candidate.
Taking on Amy Klobuchar on her home turf is always a mistake.
Failed thought leader, failed author, middling weekend morning show host, and now a pretty bad Secretary of Defense.
Do you mean Secretary of War?
Sure.
But he is a pretty boy. Even if you don't think he's a good-looking man, he's definitely a pretty boy, or he thinks he is. He made himself a makeup room in the Pentagon. I'm sure you all know about that.
Peter Beauregard Hegseth was born on June 6th, 1980 in Minneapolis, Minnesota, to a basketball coach dad and a business coach mom.
Wait, Erin, that cannot be right.
You caught me, Alyssa. Beauregard is not his middle name. It's Brian.
No. My dude was born in 1980. Erin, I actually would be an older and wiser and much better SecDef.
That's correct. Me and Pete Hegseth would have been in high school at the same time. When I learned that fact, it fucked me up. The guy looks pickled from the liver out.
Your skin should not have a purple undertone when you're not old enough to get the Denny's senior discount.
Pete was raised in Forest Lake, Minnesota, which I've driven through approximately 1 billion times, as it's between the town where I grew up and the nearest decent shopping mall.
But I do think it's interesting that he's from Minnesota. All the stuff with Minnesota.
It's pretty nondescript. They do have a Perkins, though, which garnered a mention in Hegseth's class of 99 high school yearbook as the gang's favorite hangout.
I mean, I admit, Perkins hit the spot back when I was in Madison.
Sometimes you just want pie.
After his freshman year, Pete began a relationship with a classmate named Meredith Schwartz. The two would continue to date all the way through high school and be named most likely to marry. More on that in a bit.
Poor girl. Man, he screwed her up.
In a dictionary to the entry for guy who peaked in high school, you won't find anything because that's not a word. But if it was, there would be a picture of Pete Hegseth next to it. Standout basketball player, the coach's son, class valedictorian.
Wow, and he seems like such a dumbass now. I guess decades of heavy drink.
I know, valedictorian really surprised me because he is such an idiot.
Does make you stupid.
I know he went to
Hegseth
Harvard.
considered attending West Point, but instead went to Princeton.
Oh, wait, no, he went to Princeton? But I was going to say Zuck went to Harvard. Like, you know who went to Harvard at the exact same time as RFK Jr.? They started at the same time. They graduated at the same time. Is that Lawrence O'Donnell from MSNBC, the guy who won a few Emmys for his West Wing writing. And also, this is just a fun fact. Al Gore and Tommy Lee Jones not only went to Harvard for 4 years together, they were roommates the entire 4 years. Al Gore and Tommy Lee Jones.
At Princeton, he played basketball, riding the pine for 2 seasons and averaging 1.2 points and 0.1 rebounds per game.
Aaron's that good?
The Daily Princetonian described him as a recruiting afterthought who toiled in obscurity. Hegseth enlisted in the ROTC after the terror attacks of 9/11 and soon after found more success as a provocateur than he did on the basketball court. In 2002, he served as editor-in-chief and publisher of a student paper called The Princeton Tory, a place for the most tedious dorks on campus to present conservative ideas to a young audience. Here's the cover of his first issue as publisher, presented without comment.
The thing about conservative ideas is that they don't really change. So the stuff Hegseth was publishing in the Tory.
And it's called Coming Out of the Closet, as, you know, as a conservative, not as the other thing.
23 years ago was the same run-of-the-mill college conservative dribble that had been published for generations. We keep getting older, but those opinions stay the same.
All right. Opinions like homosexuality is a sin. America needs more God, nuclear family good, feminism bad.
And of course, since this was the early 2000s, he was simping for the Iraq War.
Hegseth has always seemed to have had a bit of a punishment fetish, writing in the Tories' March 2002 issue that the reason that some Americans sympathized with the Taliban was because they lacked a male disciplinary figure. Later in that article, Hegseth advocated parental discipline that included spanking and shoving soap in children's mouths.
Hot take for the ages. Of course, there was
Soap in the mouth. That's really disgusting. I mean, I know that that's a thing for some people, but that is really sick. That's like poisoning somebody. Like, that should be illegal. I don't know if it is. Obviously, spanking's not illegal unless you leave marks and bruises, or if you use a weapon like a whip or a wooden spoon. Not legal. But I would think putting soap in a child's mouth, I would think that should be illegal.
the requisite railing against DEI. Back then, it was just called diversity. Here's what Hegseth wrote about that.
It was called affirmative action.
Quote, race can be a legitimate part of what makes up a diverse campus, but it also doesn't define anyone. Alan Keyes is a black man, but if Princeton hired him as a professor, his skin color alone would add nothing to the diversity of this campus. His intelligent conservative viewpoints, on the other hand, would be a blast of fresh air.
In addition to fantasizing about being blasted by Alan Keyes, working at the Tory gave Pete the opportunity to publicly hate women, a hobby he enjoys to this day. He once got in an altercation with a female classmate who claims she confronted the future cabinet official for tearing down posters for Princeton's feminist group, the Organization for Women Leaders, otherwise known as OWL.
On his watch, Hegseth paper published a cover image featuring a cartoon owl in a gun's crosshairs. On page 3, that owl's head had 3 bloody holes in it. Under the headline, Killing Feminism, Owl Sabotages the Women's Movement.
It's not legal to shoot owls or women, Peter. The women of OWL tried to make peace with Hegseth, but according to one of his classmates, Hegseth showed up wearing his ROTC uniform in what she interpreted as an attempt to intimidate them.
He did this on another occasion that they mention. Comes into a situation wearing an ROTC uniform, literally to try to intimidate a woman.
So theatrical.
He loves drama. Hegseth also got himself into some hot water over publishing claims that having sex with an unconscious woman was not rape.
I'm sorry, what?
Here's the exact quote
This is so disgusting.
from an opinion column that ran in the Tory. The columnist is describing a session he had to attend during college orientation where attendees had to determine whether a
Sick.
sketch mentioning a man having sex with a passed out woman counted as rape. Quote, the actual instance portrayed in the skit was in fact not a clear case of rape, at least not in my home state. In short, though intercourse was not consented to, there was no duress because the girl drank herself into unconsciousness. Both criteria must be satisfied for rape, unfortunately.
Absolutely disgusting. Ugh.
The panelists never cited any legal definition of rape, yet the panel, all females in the session I attended, claimed that rape it was.
Quite the hill to die on, Peter. A May 2025 Daily Princetonian review of Hegseth's senior thesis found at least 8 instances of...
This is great. Plagiarism. Remember, Melania plagiarized Michelle Obama's entire speech.
Possible plagiarism, from failing to credit source material all the way up to word-for-word copying. One plagiarism expert that the student paper consulted compared Hegseth's plagiarism to the plagiarism that has gotten other public figures and academics in hot water, like Harvard President Claudine Gay, whose plagiarism was later used as a pretext to oust her from her position.
Interesting. Hegseth graduated from Princeton in 2003, and in 2004 married the girl that his high school classmates predicted he'd marry, Meredith. During the early years of their
Poor
marriage, he was
girl.
commissioned as an infantry officer in the National Guard and deployed to Guantanamo Bay, Iraq, and Afghanistan.
Oh,
Samara
wait a
Iraq.
second. OMG. The crap that he did in Gitmo Bay should be a no-brainer that he is not fit for duty in our government. Gitmo Bay is a very questionable place to have experience because a lot of twisted stuff went on down there, but nothing as bad as this. But let me just let you know too that he wasn't there the night that it happened. It was just his homies. This is sick.
In 2006, soldiers in the 101st Airborne Division's 3rd Brigade combat team set 3 Iraqi detainees free and shot them in the back as they were running away, a war crime. They lied to their commanders about it.
Set them free and shot them in the back and then lied to their commanders about it. The war crime is bad enough on its own. The lying about it, it's a whole nother can of worms.
Claiming the detainees escaped and attacked them. 2 soldiers were eventually convicted of murder, and the career of the troop's brigadier commander was given a black mark on his military resume that ended his career.
Pete Hegseth was not there that night, but the convicted murderers were in Pete Hegseth's unit. And ever since that incident, he's had a hard-on for letting American troops do war crimes.
Hegseth has written that he felt lost.
This is especially sick in light of the things that he said on the 8th. So was that a week ago today or it was the 7th? It was a week ago yesterday. I think it was Tuesday the 7th when they rallied the top brass from the military to tell them no beardos and no fat dudes and no more silly rules of engagement. Like effing crazy.
After returning to the U.S. from his deployments, but rather than recoiling at the horror of mechanized death or questioning the value in offering up human lives in defense of American business interests, he found meaning again in advocating for more war. In 2006, he started working with a pro-war veterans organization called Veterans for Freedom.
VFF was meant to appear like it was a grassroots movement for pro-war American troops who just wanted to get themselves and all their friends and colleagues blown up in the Middle East as soon as possible. But it was actually what's known as an AstroTurf organization. Oh, Alyssa, AstroTurf. Fake grass. I just got that, like right now. Oh.
Who's a grass expert? Grass has a lifetime, just like a person has a lifetime. That was some more weird speech from the tenacious, demented D.
VFF was actually founded with money from 3 conservative billionaires who are now dead. Bernard Marcus, the founder of Home Depot, Jerry Parenchio, a longtime Univision executive who lived in the mansion from the Beverly Hillbillies, and businessman and former neighbor of Oprah Winfrey, Harold Simmons. Between the 3 of them, they've been married a total of 8 times. Just a fun fact about these boosters of conservative family values.
Hey, almost half as many times as Hegseth all by himself.
Journalist Jane Mayer also found ties between the organization
Or our president.
and other shadowy right-wing money men like Paul Singer. You might remember Paul Singer as the guy standing to the left of Supreme Court Justice Samuel Alito wearing pristine waders and holding a giant salmon in this photo, which is from a ProPublica story about how Paul Singer paid for Samuel Alito to go on a luxury Alaskan fishing trip. Alito did not disclose it and later did not recuse himself from Supreme Court cases directly involving Paul Singer's companies.
These fucking guys.
In 2007, Hegseth became the leader of VFF. He was a dog shit leader, running the financials of the organization into the ground, even as it raised more money than ever. Pete mismanaged the money the organization did manage to raise, with financial records indicating that by the end of 2008, VFF was nearly broke.
And by broke,
I wonder what happened to the money.
I mean deep enough in a hole to consider jumping from a Vegas hotel window, with under $1,000 in the bank and more than $400,000 in liability. Audit that confirmed that this was a Pete Hegseth problem.
The group's options were money to fix it, bad idea, or shut the organization down entirely, which they kind of did. VFF ended up merging with a group called Military Families United, which took over operations of the group as Hegseth's role diminished. In 2010, he was only being paid a $45,000 salary. One of Mayer's sources described this move as castrating Hegseth.
Where did the money go? There were rumors that Pete basically drank it all away.
While he was destroying his first veterans organization, he was also destroying his marriage. He and Meredith had been living apart as Pete's advocacy work for VFF required he be in Washington, and her job was in New York. But he told Meredith that he was planning on moving back to Minnesota to attend graduate school. Meredith dutifully moved home and found a new job in the Twin Cities. But Pete never followed through on those plans, and in 2008, according to Vanity Fair, showed up to Meredith's house in his army uniform to confess to...
In his army uniform. I'm sure he did her a huge favor in the end, you know. Better late than never. Better than spending her life with this guy.
her that he'd cheated on her. He'd had not 1, but 5 affairs.
Erin, 5 separate relationships, not just 5 times? Okay. This guy loves to put on an army uniform when he knows a woman is mad at him.
Meredith wanted to make it work. This was her first love. She'd built her whole life around him. But she finally filed for divorce when she noticed a suspicious charge on their credit card bill for a hotel room. The divorce left her scarred emotionally and psychologically. I feel really bad for her.
Mm-hmm.
And that hotel room, that was likely for Pete to use to boink the woman who'd become his second wife, Samantha Deering, who Pete met because they were co-workers at VFF.
Pete and Samantha would go on to have a
So his second wife, he was still married to her when he got his current wife, not only got her pregnant, but when she had the baby. He's got him and his third wife, between the two of them, I want to say they have 8 kids. I think they each had 3 small children. Did he have all 3 with the second wife? And then they were both married with 3 small children each when they had a love child, while not only working together at Fox News, she was his effing boss.
Child, quote, out of wedlock, unquote, in Pete's words, in an essay about family values. But Pete made an honest woman out of her and married what he would describe in that essay as his, quote, ultimate wife, unquote, shortly after their son was born.
Ultimate wife sounds like a great wrestling
Ultimate wife.
She's got a
So
rolling
wait, I'm going to guess that the third wife was the ultimate wife, right?
ultimate wife. The son that Samantha and Pete had is named Gunner. And we like to leave kids out of these videos because it's not their fault that their dad sucks. But I must momentarily zero in on the names that Hegseth gave the 3 sons that he and Samantha would have together. They're like the names that a 12-year-old boy would give to a pet lizard.
Gunner, Boone, and Rex. Yep, checks out.
As VFF slowly froze him out, Pete knew that he needed another act, and fast. Unfortunately, he was still young and comfortable being an Olympian hypocrite, so he thought he'd give Republican politics a try.
There are only a few rules that one must follow in life. You can't win the land war in Afghanistan, don't shit where you eat, and don't run for office against Amy Klobuchar in the state of Minnesota. Hegseth had already broken 2 of those rules and was about to break the 3rd.
On March 1st, 2012, Pete announced that he'd be vying for the Republican nomination for Amy Klobuchar's Senate seat. Ever the money spender, he even put out this high-budget campaign ad.
Pete's a great dad. He approaches fatherhood like he does everything else, hands-on and 100%.
He's just devoted to his wife. He's devoted to his son. They have another one on the way, and it's just a thrill for us as parents to watch them be parents.
I didn't learn conservatism out of a book. I learned it lived out in front of me by my parents, by our family, by our church community.
What a
Everyone who
hypocrite.
sort of took the time to say, this is what's important in life and how you should live it out.
That is he was cheating on his first wife. Violently opposed to women in combat roles, maybe because his horn dog past proves that he can't be around women at all without dropping his gun and going awooga like a Tex Avery cartoon. Pete had aspirations. The Minnesota GOP had other plans. In May, they nominated someone else for the seat at its convention, which meant that Heggie didn't even make it to the primary, and Amy Klobuchar ended up winning the general by 35 points.
Hegseth's campaign didn't even last 9 scaramucci's, but that's okay. Pete was about to fail upwards once again.
That's a good one. Didn't even last 9 scaramucci's. I'm pretty sure a scaramucci is just a scotch more than a week. Just a scotch.
2013, he was put in charge of a different fake grassroots organization, this one funded by the Koch brothers, Concerned Veterans for America. He'd hold the position for 3 gin-soaked years.
We know a lot about Hegseth's antics at the head of the CVA because it was the subject of many employee complaints, including a 7-page-long whistleblower report about what a drunken moron he was. It became the subject of a long-form piece by the New Yorker's Jane Mayer. Here are some of the things he's alleged to have done in his official role as the CEO of CVA, according to Mayer. Hegseth was, quote, repeatedly intoxicated while acting in his official capacity to the point of needing to be carried out of the organization's events.
Carried
in
out.
2014, he, quote, had to be restrained while drunk from joining the dancers on the stage of a Louisiana strip club where he had brought his team. Work party at a strip club? What could go wrong?
At that same strip club
Especially
work
with
party,
him.
one female employee alleges that another executive attempted to sexually assault her, but her report was ignored because the guy who tried to do it was drunk, and it was just an honest drinking mistake.
In 2015, while on an official
Just a big misunderstanding, right?
tour for the organization, Pete drunkenly chanted "Kill all Muslims" at the Sheridan Suites Hotel in Cuyahoga Falls, Ohio. He threw food from the balcony at the company's Christmas party at the Grand Hyatt Hotel, and at an event in Virginia Beach in 2014, he was so drunk that somebody needed to carry him back to his hotel room.
Hegseth being too drunk to walk and needing help getting to bed at company functions was a regular occurrence, as was the CEO getting handsy and screwing around on his wife, who was back home in Minnesota raising their sons.
By early 2016, Pete was forced out of the organization. He tried to finesse it like a mutual decision, but he didn't have another job lined up. Shortly after he was ousted from Concerned Veterans for America, the new president of the group received an email with the subject line, "Congratulations on removing Pete Hegseth."
I kind of want that on merch. Even though he was pouring enough alcohol down his throat to pay for several Princeton degrees, he was still raking in the professional handouts. In 2014, he became an on-air contributor to Fox News, where one particular producer named Jennifer Roche decided that she liked the cut of Pete's jib and started giving him a lot of airtime. A suspicious amount. Pete would soon prove himself to be a formidable journalist and commentator, like Edward R. Murrow and Christiane Amanpour had a baby and fed it tequila instead of milk.
In 2015, during a Flag Day celebration, Pete Hegseth threw an axe at a target and missed the target completely. Instead, the axe hit a drummer in the West Point Band.
Who's going to win this battle from the lumberjack? That's okay. I'm putting my money on.
That's not even close. It's not even
Not
close.
even close.
I want to know how drunk he was.
Like I said, it's really sad how funny it is. It's sad for that victim who was injured and was made a laughing stock of still to this day. It's horrible.
Like, how drunk was he when he did that?
That drummer ended up suing Hegseth, claiming that he suffered severe and serious personal injuries to his mind and body, as well as permanent effects of pain, disability, disfigurement, and loss of body function.
Hitting somebody with an axe might get somebody fired or at least suspended from another network, but not Fox. Pete was made a permanent host of Fox and Friends Weekend by 2017, once again failing up after being forced out of his second veterans organization because of his mismanagement and drunken antics.
One of his most memorable moments came in 2019 when he casually quipped to his co-host that he hadn't washed his hands in 10 years.
As I told you, my 2019 resolution is to say things.
See, I thought he said that after COVID, but if it was 2019, COVID didn't really happen until 2020. I mean, right at the end of 2019 is when it started to happen over in China. But yeah, I remember when COVID started, people were talking about this guy and is bragging about not washing his hands for 10 years, which is just really ludicrous. I mean, even without COVID, that's disgusting.
On air that I say off air. I don't think I've washed my hands for 10 years. Really, I don't really wash my hands.
Help me!
No, I am not.
Hopefully he takes showers, so he's lying. Hopefully. Maybe he doesn't take showers either.
Calculate myself. It's just not, germs are not a real thing. I can't see them. Therefore, they're not real.
So you're becoming immune?
And there's the reason he never got prime time.
Like, oh my God, we got Typhoid Mary in there. This became its own mini news cycle with Hegseth later explaining that he was just joking around. Like being a gross person who smears their own poop germs everywhere they touch because they reject science is hilarious.
Oh, it's so cute.
Meanwhile, once again, Pete Hegseth had not learned his lesson. An NBC News report from 2024 found 10 of Pete's old Fox News coworkers willing to go on the record about what a sloppy mess he was, showing up to work reeking of alcohol and repeatedly discussing being hungover. He was constantly late for hair and makeup.
You know, morning show host is a pretty bad.
I mean, that's sad, really. I mean, the guy needed an intervention, not to. Ugh, it really is heartbreaking. Except that he's such a rat bastard.
For someone with a drinking problem.
While it seems that Hegseth's troublesome frat boy antics were well known in the circles he ran in, the general public became aware of it when President Trump announced his intent to nominate him for Secretary of Defense. When Fox News covered the nomination, they downplayed or straight up didn't cover the parts of the story about him showing up drunk to Fox News.
In response to the waterfall of Pete Hegseth is a booze hound stories, a spokesperson for the Trump transition team said, "These disgusting allegations are completely unfounded and false. Anyone peddling these defamatory lies to score political cheap shots is sickening. As a decorated combat veteran, Pete has never done anything to jeopardize that, and he is treating this nomination as the most important deployment of his life."
Interesting note.
The ease at which these people lie their freaking faces off is pretty atrocious, to say the least.
Infidelity is against the rules in the military. UCMJ Article 134 to be exact. People can and do get court-martialed or even discharged for having extramarital sex, especially in a manner that brings discredit onto the armed forces. And Pete was in the military when he showed up at his first wife's house in his uniform to admit to her that he'd spent much of their marriage screwing around and was a reservist until 2021. His service spanned the entirety of his slut phase.
Speaking of screwing around, remember that Fox News producer named Jennifer who saw potential in our boy? Well, turns out he was banging her.
Slept his way to the top.
Meanwhile, back in Minnesota, the woman who Hegseth had once...
Which, you got to admit, it is better than sleeping your way to the bottom. I mean, just an old joke, so I had to.
...called his ultimate wife in an essay about family values. The woman who was the mother of his 3 lizard-named sons learned that Pete had peated without a condom and impregnated producer Jennifer Roche, who was also married with 3 kids at the time. In 2017, Jennifer gave birth to Pete's 4th child that we know of. True, that we know of. All that drunken dick waving, who can say for sure. Pete's 2nd wife filed for divorce the month after Pete's future 3rd wife had given birth. And at this point, Pete's mom stepped in, sending him an irate email that the New York Times printed when he was being considered for Secretary of Defense. Alyssa, will you do the honors and give some excerpts of it a dramatic read?
Of course. Son, I have tried to keep quiet about your character and behavior, but after listening to the way you made Samantha feel today, I cannot stay silent. And as a woman and your mother, I feel I must speak out. You are an abuser of women. That is the ugly truth, and I have no respect for...
The sad thing is she's basically backpedaled this whole thing. I mean, seriously. This is your grandchildren's father. This is your son.
Any man that belittles, lies, cheats, sleeps around, and uses women for his own power and ego. You are that man and have been for years. And as your mother, it pains me and embarrasses me to say that, but it is the sad, sad truth. She continues. On behalf of all the women, and I know it's many, you have abused in some way.
On behalf of my entire gender, right?
I say, get some help and take an honest look at yourself, Mom.
Penelope Hegseth, that was quite the missive.
Pros.
Yeah. Now Hegseth's mom says she's apologized to him for sending that and no longer feels that way about her son, but no lies spotted. This fucking...
She apologized to him. That's disgusting. That's absolutely disgusting.
Guy is brought to you by Green Chef. Fall is my favorite season. I love to
get through the Green Chef. I think it's right there.
To greenchef.com/50hysteria and use code 50hysteria to get 50% off your first month, then 20% off for 2 months with free shipping. That's code 50hysteria at greenchef.com.
I'm not getting paid. Why am I playing this?
.com/50hysteria.
Now that he's met his ultimate partner, Pete finally settled down, right?
No. In October, shortly after his future third wife had given birth and his future second ex-wife had filed for divorce, Hegseth was the keynote speaker.
He should have called her best wife ever. Number 3. Because you got, the starter wife, the ultimate wife, best wife ever.
At the Republican Federation of Republican Women's Convention in Monterey, California.
After his speech, of course, Hegseth couldn't wait to start throwing him back. At the after party, the woman who would later accuse Hegseth of sexual assault intervened to protect another woman he was getting handsy with. Surveillance footage.
This is really sad. I knew about this situation. I didn't know the woman that he assaulted was there at the event with her family. She was sharing a hotel room with her husband and kids when she returned to her room after being assaulted by him.
It showed the accuser escorting Hegseth away from the bar, and soon after, hotel staff reported a loud argument between them by the pool. Hegseth was very drunk and yelling about what a good guy he was.
Which is definitely a thing that actual good guys do all the time.
Oh, yeah.
I'm a good guy. Meanwhile, the accuser was texting her husband, who was staying in the same hotel with their 2 small children, and calling Hegseth a creeper.
Hours later, she returned to the hotel room she shared with her husband and kids, but later had flashbacks and nightmares about the encounter. She recalled Hegseth blocking the door and assaulting her despite her saying no multiple times. She remembered his dog tags jangling above her. 4 days later, the woman went to a hospital for a rape exam, suspecting she had been drugged. She initially did not want to include Hegseth's name on the report because of his fame. There were no criminal charges filed, but in 2020, Hegseth secretly reached a $50,000 settlement with the woman, who also signed an NDA.
When all this, including the police report, resurfaced when he was being considered for Secretary of Defense, Hegseth said he wasn't drunk, he was buzzed. Oh, okay, well then it's fine. And the
Secretary of War, come on. And yeah, not drunk, just buzzed. Like, what the F? So you're just bragging that you have a very high tolerance?
criminal investigation resulting in no charges totally exonerated him. Although he did acknowledge having consensual sex with the woman, he hadn't told the Trump transition team that this incident had happened in the first place. Meanwhile, Hegseth was still being booked to speak at conservative
they would have cared.
Conferences without the people booking him knowing about what had happened in California. In January 2019, for example, he was the keynote speaker at Liberty University's convocation. So he was around literally thousands of college-age women. And at other events, he ostensibly had access to an open bar. Like if I were somebody who had booked him to speak at my event and not known that there was a police report about an alleged rape at another similar event, I'd be pretty pissed.
Apparently, Jennifer Roche was able to move past it, and after Jennifer left her husband and Hegseth's messy divorce was finalized and sealed with a pair of NDAs, in 2019, the two former Fox News co-workers were joined in holy matrimony at the Trump National Golf Club in Colts Neck, New Jersey. Donald Trump was there. Sean Hannity and Ainsley Earhardt arrived together in a...
But let me just throw this in there because I don't think they even touch on this at all. 9 days after the little E was found deceased in his jail cell. So Epstein was found in his jail cell August 10th, I believe, 2019. And then they got married August 19th, 2019. I don't know if it had been planned or if they threw it together to celebrate something being out of the way, because I have a feeling that Kegsbreath might be involved in those Trumpstein files as well. I know for a fact that RFK Jr. is involved in those Trumpstein files, in my humble conspiracy theory, allegedly. I know for a fact RFK is all over those, as much as Bill Clinton is, or maybe almost as much as Bill Clinton is.
A helicopter. The bride, poor white.
Given his entire romantic track record, I hope she kept the receipt for the guy.
As is BB and Daddy Vladdy, all over those effing Trumpstein files. And that lawyer from Harvard, Alan D., the one who sued the pierogi guy at the farmer's market in Martha's Vineyard this summer. That douchebag.
By the time he'd hit 40, Hegseth had torpedoed 4 families, sunk 2 nonprofits, and lost 1 election so badly that he didn't make it to the primary. He was accelerating toward rock bottom like Fat Boy over Hiroshima, all while continuing to advance professionally. But he wasn't done.
No, in 2020, he wrote American Crusade, Our Right to Stay Free, a chicken hawk screed pitting something he made up called Americanism against the evil leftist forces of feminism, progressivism, and globalism. The book was not a hit.
Why didn't he just go with the whole wokeism? Hadn't thought of it.
But it did have cover art that could not be any gayer.
I bet we could make it gayer. Donald Trump loves that shit. He loves people who are theatrical, larger than life, fun to watch on television, and he loves it when those people offer him unhesitating obedience, which explains why some of the irresponsible, unchecked lines Hegseth spouted on Fox and Friends eventually came out of the president's mouth. For example, according to Peter Baker and Susan Glasser's book, The Divider, in 2018, Hegseth claimed on Fox and Friends that unknown Middle Easterners had infiltrated a migrant caravan heading north from Central America. President Trump repeated it. Hegseth later admitted that he hadn't really vetted his own.
Speaking of war crimes, another Venezuelan boat was torpedoed. I think that's the 5th one. I think that was yesterday. That would be the 14th of October.
Statement for accuracy. There was also the time that Pete Hegseth derailed negotiations meant to stop a government shutdown because Democrats had not given Trump $5 billion for his border wall.
And remember when President Trump pardoned 3 war criminals, including certifiable lunatic Eddie Gallagher, the American soldier who stabbed a 17-year-old detainee to death? Hegseth claims to have influenced that too.
Hegseth, like a lot of men women regret sleeping with, has a lot of bad tattoos. The words, "we the people." The coat of arms of his military regiment, the Latin phrase, ne decet virtus, which means it's raining men. Just kidding. It means let valor not fail. He has a ridiculously large Jerusalem cross on his right pectoral and another phrase, Deus Vult, on his right bicep near the Arabic word for non-believer.
In addition to being corny as hell, a couple of those are why he was flagged as a potential insider threat to Joe Biden's inauguration in 2021 after this homoerotic footage of him swimming with some male pals made the rounds in military group chats.
How's it looking out there? Todd, it's looking about like we're about to get wet, and there's already a big chunk of seals setting the pace. My man Kaj is right in front of me. He's got the Kaj cam. He's going to try to bring you the first-hand view, and I'll be thinking about that Statue of Liberty, that Freedom Tower, that Ellis Island, the GI Go Fund, and all the vets and all the SEALs that have done so much. That's what's to ponder.
Okay, hear me out. Hear me out. So you know how we've talked about that if Donald Trump had just won an Emmy for The Apprentice, we might not be in this whole mess right now.
Yeah.
If they had just put Hegseth in prime time, we may not be in this mess right now.
That's true. If they would have just given him Tucker's slot.
The guy loves the camera. Deus Vult means God's will. It is a phrase that can be perfectly innocent, but it's also favored by white supremacist groups and the Proud Boys. And next to that garishly large cross, which was a symbol used during the Crusades, well, a whistle was blown, and Hegseth wasn't called up to help serve as a member of the National Guard that day.
It got him kicked out of the military.
In 2022, Hegseth wrote another book, this one called The War on Warriors, and it's just as corny as it sounds. Fox News' website printed an excerpt from it, a letter he wrote to his male children, but not his female child. In it, he starts with the requisite self-mythologizing that his children were raised in a strong Christian household and that the greatest thing he's ever done with his life is serve in the military. He says he hopes that his 3 sons and 2 stepsons all serve in the military, and that when they do, they take it all the way. He fantasizes about them joining the Navy SEALs, the Army Rangers, the Green Berets, the Marine Raider.
Let me just say, those sons, judging from their reaction to him, I think it's in the video here, of his behavior on the White House lawn during the Easter egg roll, those sons have some real good common sense and decency. Too bad he doesn't. Too bad they can't share it with their dad, huh?
Because, quote, elite units usually skip most of, excuse my language, but it's true, the bullshit.
Now keep in mind, Hegseth was not in an elite unit. He does not have a ranger pin. He did not attend SEAL training. He is not a Marine. He's not a Green Beret. But he sure feels strongly about barring women who are...
He can't even do a freaking pull-up. I mean, I probably can't either, but still, I'm not bragging about how macho I am either.
Physically capable of meeting the standards that he never could meet himself from being able to serve in those roles.
Also in 2022, Hegseth donated $1,000 to the congressional campaign of a New Jersey gym owner and frequent Fox News guest named Ian Smith. A few weeks after, Smith's second drunk driving arrest became public. Smith's first drunk driving incident came when he was 20 years old, drank 10 to 12 beers, and killed somebody with his car. He was sentenced to 5.5 years in prison for vehicular manslaughter. Great place to put.
Hi, it's Nicole from Sandy Hook Promise.
Sorry. That scared me when Nicole from Sandy Hook Promise jumped out. One sec, let me skip over that.
Will you sign our petition demanding Congress to do money feed unrepentant?
Okay.
Booze hounds got to stick together. On Fox and Friends in 2022, he wrote, "Return to sender" on his graduate degree from Harvard in response to DEI initiatives in the Ivy League.
Harvard University? Let's do that. Oh my God. I think we go with critical theory.
Again, more street theater, or what I like to call melodramaculous.
Who's having a harder time than your mom?
I think it should be renamed Critical Theory University.
Okay.
Return to sender. Right here, and then I'll just sign it for good.
Like he's too good for Harvard.
When Harvard saw the cover of his book, they were like, "We shall take that diploma back. Thank you so much." In 2023, Hegseth interviewed a Christian nationalist podcaster named Gabriel Wrench on Fox News. Wrench had just won a lawsuit against the town of Moscow, Idaho, over an anti-masking protest organized.
Now this, for my regular viewers, this actually ties in with the Idaho 4. This literally ties in with the Idaho 4. I'll play this and then I'll explain a little bit more of how so.
Christ Church. Now, Christ Church of Bumfuck, Idaho isn't just some random church to Hegseth. It's a church run by far-right fringe Christian nationalist Pastor Doug Wilson, who co-founded the Communion of Reformed Evangelical Churches, or CREC. Hegseth's church in Tennessee belongs to this network.
Doug Wilson is a male authority figure with a punishment kink, and Pete Hegseth wants more than anything to be bossed around and threaten punishment from a strong male authority figure. So naturally, Hegseth admires Wilson. Wilson believes that women shouldn't be allowed to vote or serve in combat roles in the military. He believes wives should submit to their husbands, and America should be a Christian theocracy run by biblical principles, and that homosexuality should be illegal.
Earlier this year, Hegseth approvingly posted this clip of...
And now they lead, they being the Christian nationalists, I believe, lead the prayer in the Pentagon once a month. That shouldn't be legal, in my opinion.
Wilson.
I'd like to see the town be a Christian town. I'd like to see the nation be a Christian nation. I'd like to see the world be a Christian world. Women are the kind of people that people...
As a Christian, this guy is offensive AF. And what he says right here, he doesn't deserve to come out of a woman.
come out of.
So you just think they're meant to have babies? That's it. They're just a vessel.
No, it doesn't take any talent to simply reproduce biologically.
I'm here as a working journalist, and I'm a mom of 3.
Good for you.
Is that an issue
No.
for you?
No, it's not automatically an issue.
And now there's a monthly prayer service.
It actually does take talent to have a baby come out of you and survive. Come on. My God, dude. I'd like to see you try it.
Pentagon, initiated by Hegseth, Wilson's highest level connection to the administration.
It's not organizationally tied to us, but it's the kind of thing we love to see.
Why is the master race always so ugly?
After Trump won re-election in 2024, Hegseth's name almost immediately rose to the top of the list of people he was considering for Secretary of Defense. He stepped down from Fox. Here's a clip of his final broadcast with America's #1 news network.
Even Fox has turned on demented Tenacious D. You know that, right? Even Fox News.
I mean, it was close. Pretty much that. Did Hegseth have experience successfully managing a large organization comparable to the Department of Defense? No, but he did have experience ruining 2 small organizations.
Did he have extensive combat experience or a long military career? Also no. But he did have experience armchair defending perpetrators of war crimes that he did not personally witness. But none of that mattered to President Donald Trump Part 2, Cankles of Rage, who populated his cabinet the second time around like he was casting a reality TV show. And Pete had been somebody who had been loudly, confidently wrong in a way that made Donald Trump feel good about himself for years.
Plus, Hegseth's overwrought, drag-level performance of masculinity matched the WWE energy that Trump loves. So that's more than enough to qualify him to manage an $850 billion budget and 2.87 million people, right?
Well, during the confirmation hearings, Democrats drilled him on his problematic drinking, sexual assault, and misconduct allegations, and his atrocious professional record.
Many of your work colleagues have said that you show up for work under the influence of alcohol or drunk. I know you've denied that, but you would agree with me, right, that if that was the case, that would be disqualifying for somebody to be Secretary of Defense.
Senator, those are all anonymous false claims, and the totality...
They're not.
Yeah, they're not anonymous. They have names attached to them.
The letters on the record here.
They're not anonymous.
On the record.
We've seen records with names attached to
freedom.
them.
I'm not a perfect person, but redemption is real. And God forged me in ways that I know I'm prepared for.
Hegseth shrugged all the allegations off as part of a coordinated smear campaign. Aaron, I wish the 2025 Democrats were organized and diabolical enough to pull off a coordinated smear campaign.
Oh my God, we all do. Your lips to God's ears. Write it on the Statue of Liberty. Bring me your schemers. Ultimately, Democrats didn't have enough votes to block Hegseth's confirmation. Republicans did that thing Republicans do, which is negotiate so that a few of them can peel off to perform concern kabuki for their constituents without actually impeding the Trump agenda. Ultimately, Vice President J.D. Vance cast the tie-breaking vote, and Hegseth was confirmed 51-50.
As Secretary of
Like,
Defense,
that's pretty bad right there. And again, that same thing happened with Alex Acosta in the Trump administration first time around. And then he was forced to step down when little E was arrested in 2019, a month before he got Epsteined.
Hegseth beat expectations by being
let me just mention right here, him being Epsteined is under real investigation right now as we speak.
Worse than his naysayers had feared. In March 2025, CENTCOM Commander General Eric Kurilla securely sent Hegseth information about impending military operations in Yemen, including the launch times of F-18 aircraft, drones, Tomahawk missiles, and even...
I don't know if this includes the one that he just did in the last 48 hours.
Bombs would hit
or
their
less.
targets.
The code name for this military operation
Probably
was
not.
Operation Rough Rider, which somehow sounds even gayer than Hegseth's
He was probably doing it again as they were editing this video. Seriously, literally.
Book cover.
Not even
Hegseth
kidding.
then took that securely shared classified information and passed it along. This is Buick.
Let's
Now,
skip.
Buick, word for word, to 2 Signal group chats. One of them consisted of high-level Trump administration officials. The other included his wife, his brother, who's a podcast producer, and his personal lawyer.
His wife has also been included in at least 2 high-level meetings where foreign defense was discussed. His kid brother was given a job working as a Department of Homeland Security liaison to the Department of Defense, circumventing anti-nepotism rules.
His wife, I think, goes everywhere with him to make sure that he's not cheating on her, allegedly. But also, just like his daddy, his boss man, like they need people around them to prop themselves up because they're so insecure, because they're such frauds and they know it.
So listen, I have a theory about why Pete's third wife, Jennifer, is like so involved in all of his shit.
Okay.
Pete Hegseth is a serial cheater, and he offered to do this to calm his wife down after he fucked up in some big way. Like, this gives me shared Facebook account vibes, but like at the top echelons of the U.S. government.
Aaron, 100%. That is exactly what was going on there. Except there was one big whoopsie. One of the participants in the Trump administration group chat accidentally added the editor-in-chief of The Atlantic, Jeffrey Goldberg.
Oops.
And Goldberg published a redacted version of it in The Atlantic.
When Goldberg's initial report ran, Hegseth lied to cover it up, claiming that no classified information was shared. And that, I'm assuming, pissed Jeffrey Goldberg off. He published the entire unredacted transcript of the chat the next day. But if you were somebody who was plugged into Fox News all day, like an old model iPhone deep in planned obsolescence, there were only 40 seconds of coverage of the scandal involving a Fox News personality on Fox News.
That's
After the
crazy.
media outlet Der Spiegel found Hegseth's personal contact information online through password leaks related to the incident, exposing his personal
40 seconds of coverage on Fox News.
phone, email, and WhatsApp accounts, which would have left him vulnerable to hacks from anybody with enough savvy to navigate the deep web.
Lucky for those of us whose bread and butter is clips of high-level public officials looking stupid. All this happened in the run-up to Easter. And at the White House Easter egg roll on Easter Monday this year, Pete unloaded on a
This is really, really sad. At first, when I first saw this, when it first happened, I didn't realize that the kids around him were his kids. First of all, I thought it was too many to be his kids, but he has 8 kids. I think 3 from his first marriage, 3 stepchildren, and then, 3 from his second marriage, 3 stepchildren, and then 2 from his third marriage, one of which he had while he was still married to the ultimate wife, before the best wife ever.
of media as a few of his kids cringed in frame.
What do you want to say, sir, about this Signal chat controversy?
You know, what a big surprise that a few leakers get fired and suddenly a bunch of hit pieces come out from the same media that peddled the Russia hoax. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try slashing.
Oh my God, the way his voice just cracked, he has to be freaking hammered, in my humble opinion.
People and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me. So I'm happy to be here at the Easter egg roll with my dad and my kids, because this is what we're doing it for. These kids right here. This is why we're fighting.
So I put a link to this in the description. If you haven't seen the looks on his kids' faces, these poor kids, this is at the 37-minute and 50-second mark, and it is sad. I'm heartbroken for his children. But I'm happy for them that they have the decency and common sense. It almost looked like they were trying to rescue their dad to stop him from doing what he was doing. Like, they're like, Dad, shut up, put a sock in it.
The fake news media. This is why we're fighting slash and burn Democrats. This is why we're fighting hoaxsters.
That wouldn't be the only time that Pete Hegseth was stupid about the internet. Like, even before Signalgate, an American Prospect reporter discovered his public Venmo friends list in February. On the list were a lot of people who maybe shouldn't be sending or receiving money from the Secretary of Defense. Like several executives from Peter Thiel-owned companies like Palantir. Hey, second Peter Thiel sighting. High-level execs from Google, reporters from the New York Times.
Another ad.
Old Navy presents Jingle Jammies, the greatest snow on earth. Just look at those jammies jingle.
Oh, it's not even giving me the opportunity to skip it. It's one of those. It just wants you to upgrade. Upgrade. I can't skip the second one either. OMG. That's ridiculous.
Lots of people who work for companies who have defense contracts and probably want more defense contracts. There are also many high-ranking officials at United Healthcare, Luigi Mangioni's least favorite insurance company.
You'd think such an accomplished philanderer would be better at InfoSec.
In July, Hegseth posted to social media a video of himself looking clownish while talking about drone warfare.
You know what? We know why we were put here. We were brought here to rebuild the military, match capabilities to the threats of today. So while our adversaries have produced millions of cheap drones, before us, we were mired in bureaucratic red tape. Not anymore.
Okay.
Man, he's so effing macho. Gross.
He has the exact same gait as my 1-year-old after she poops.
Part of the reason this video is so awkward is that
That's
it's
funny.
supposed to have music in it, but the Department of Defense had to take that video down because the DoD had made the mistake of using the Metallica song Enter Sandman. Sorry, but someone who was in college between 1999 and 2003, peak Napster, should have known that Metallica does not play around with people using their music when they don't want them to.
Hegseth's psychotic obsession with not being around women in a no-fucking context has spilled into his time as Secretary of Defense.
A little background. Under President Obama, for the first time, women who met physical standards set by the branches of the armed forces were allowed to fill combat roles. The standards were mostly gender neutral, like, for example, in the Army Ranger School, every candidate must pass the same physical fitness test on the very first day or they fail out.
So basically, women who want to fill combat roles, which they were already unofficially filling before Obama lifted the ban, by the way, they basically just need to do everything physically that the men can do.
Right. Service members do take a semi-annual fitness test, and those are adjusted for age and gender. But to qualify for combat roles, women have to do the same stuff men do. But Pete Hegseth is LARPing like that's not the case. In media appearances, he's insisted that lower standards for women are hurting our troops' lethality. And on April 28th and May 6th, 2025, the USS Harry Truman, which was stationed in the Red Sea, lost two separate...
Okay, so they're talking about the Harry Truman, the cargo ship that lost had four incidences altogether. So it lost two of the fighter jets, it crashed into something, and then there was a third incident, a fourth incident. The crash, the first thing happened in December when Biden was lame duck. And then the two planes that went into the drink were like 8 days apart. But then a fourth thing happened. I can't remember if they cover it or not. Let's see. Hopefully they do.
F-18 aircraft. The first one slid off the deck and into the ocean as the ship dodged Houthi fire. The second one was attempting to land when the arresting cable broke.
That's like the cable the plane hooks up to when it lands, like in Top Gun, right?
Yes, like in Top Gun.
Again, allegedly. I almost wonder if they didn't give these airplanes to Daddy Vladdy or something. These fighter jets.
Rick would never.
Hegseth's tenure as Secretary of Defense has been characterized by staff turnover, perpetual dick measuring contests, disastrous leaks, family nepotism, and policy paralysis, aka actually not getting anything done. Kind of like what happened in every other supervisory job he's ever had.
And it's only a matter of time before what social media calls Trump's DUI hire really gets us into trouble.
Hegseth loves rules, but only for other people. And he knows that if he sucks up hard enough to the man in charge, then he'll be exempt from them. But I think the biggest key to understanding Hegseth is examining why he hates women so much. And Alyssa, I have a theory.
Okay.
I think he hates women because he acts like one. Or at least he acts like how misogynists think women act. Okay, hear me out. Pete Hegseth got jobs he's not qualified for because of how he looks. He slept his way to the top. He's over emotional and spends money recklessly. A woman named Petra Hegseth would be the villain in the cast of The Real Housewives of Minnetonka, not running the Department of Defense. Like, misogyny is why we have this himbo slut in charge of our nuclear arsenal.
Out of all the people that Trump could have picked, how did we end up with not even prime time Fox News? Weekend Fox News, Aaron. Weekend Fox News.
There you have it. Pete Hegseth is a philandering, hyper-Christian family values enthusiast who definitely isn't secretly gay. Alyssa, how do you rate Pete Hegseth on our matrix of fucking guys?
Okay, so I have to go with reckless dumbass.
Definitely isn't secretly gay. That's good.
But I don't know about my x-axis, Aaron. Opportunist, true. I don't know if maybe he's a zealot. All right, I'm going to go reckless dumbass and true believing zealot. What about you?
I'm in the same place, I think.
Okay.
I think there's evidence that he has always been kind of righty. Like, even when he got to college, he wasn't like suddenly he took a turn, even though he has kind of tried to retell his own story as though he like became more conservative. But it seems like he kind of always was.
That wraps up the time we have for this episode of This Fucking Guy. If you like what you've seen, hit subscribe, share with your friends, and leave us a comment if you...
It's almost like he's just rebelling against mainstream, which is actually what I think a lot of the MAGA is about, is just rebelling against mainstream, which, you know, I'm all for rebellion if it's for good cause, like that guy, that one from the Wild One. What are you rebelling against anyway? What you got? What you got? So let's see if okay, so there's this guy named Paul Tatum. I just saw this video right before I came on to do my live that talks about the PP tapes that Daddy Vladdy has on Tenacious D. But he says the PP tapes aren't the golden shower type, that they have to do with this guy, Paul Tatum, who was unalived, I think, at age 41. He was an American. I think he was unalived in Russia. Yeah, I think I better just wrap this up. But let me not forget to mention the guy who hired Little E allegedly to the prep school, Dalton Prep School in Manhattan, where Little E got his start. It's where he started mingling with the filthy rich and got into working on Wall Street, which took him directly to Bear Steen's. No, Steen Bear. I don't even know. You guys know what I'm talking about. Not the Bernstein Bears, the financial thing. I should know. I'm just kind of fried because I've been on for almost 2 hours. And even though I was just playing a video for the last half of it. And then, so that guy, William Barr's dad, Donald Barr, I don't talk about this enough. You know that his father, the guy who was the headmaster at the Dalton Prep School when Little E was probably interviewing and getting the job. So they try to say that they didn't cross paths because William Barr's dad resigned by the time the school year started in September. But we all know that school years have to have everything going well in advance. They're not going to be hiring people last minute. So I'm still going to put my money on that William Barr's dad helped Lil E get that job. Anyway, the point is that Donald Barr wrote a book about alien teen X transporting. He wrote a science fiction book. Let's see what it's called. Science fiction book by Donald Barr. I've tried reading it. It's awful. It's called Space Relations. So this is what the AI overview tells you about it. Donald Barr wrote 2 science fiction novels, Space Relations, a slightly gothic interplanetary tale, 1973, and A Planet in Arms, 1981. The first book. This novel tells the story of a diplomat who is sold into slavery on an alien planet ruled by oligarchs. And it has assaults in it. And then the second book, in this book, the planet Rohan. So I think it's a, part 2. I'm not sure. Planet Rohan successfully revolted against the Terran Empire and is attempting to establish a new government. First published in 1981. So are they like part 1 and part 2 kind of? I'll ask. Is Donald Barr's second book sort of a part 2 to his first book? Let's see what it says. No, it says it's not. Second science fiction novel, Planet in Arms, is not a sequel to his first, Space Relations. While both are works of science fiction, they tell entirely separate stories and are not connected in terms of plot or character. Here is a breakdown of the differences. Space Relations, a diplomat who's captured and sold into slavery on an alien planet. A Planet in Arms, 8 years later. Political complexities and conflicts that arise on a planet attempting to form a new government after a successful revolution against an empire. Still really creepy when you put it in the context of everything that's going on in our government right now. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap up right there, but not before I talk about the Daily Beans is a really amazing channel. I'm going to put a link in the description to their most recent video because the Daily Beans is so good. And it's another channel that I don't watch as much as I wish I did. So I'm going to be watching these channels more, the ones that I link up in the description. So thanks for watching. Have a really good rest of your day. I am going to be trying to do my lives in the evenings, so it's more convenient. I've gotten some feedback from people that that's easier. And it's nice to have people chat in the chat section. And I didn't get that today, but that's okay. That's all right. Love to you guys. Take care and see you on the next one. Drink your water and eat your protein and your veggies. Take care.